1,000 laughs over a weekend as well. Vail Comedy Festival. Pet an alpaca or hike a trail.
This will be
Memorial Day weekend in Vail.
Hey, everybody. It's live from Vail Comedy Festival. Ben has a question. We're going to find out what that question is soon. We got Ben Belgrad. He's a pass holder. Let's update his name. He's a funny guy, but he's not a comedian. We're going to go like this. And look at that. Boom. His name's updated. I'm Mark Masters. It's another episode of Live from Vail Comedy Festival. It's about 2 weeks after the festival. We're doing this remotely. If you're listening online and can't see that, Ben's a year-round supporter of Vail Comedy. Familiar face. Love to see him laugh and smile. I just texted him a picture yesterday of a great photo of him laughing at Sarah's Lounge. So let's just jump into some questions for you, Ben. How did you hear about Vail Comedy Festival?
Yeah, so my partner Seth has been involved since pretty early on, and he's the one who brought it to my attention, even back when you were doing it at Route 6, I think.
Okay.
And I didn't make it to any of those Route 6 shows.
Yeah, those were Vail Brewing Company in Eagle Vale, the original.
Oh, yeah, Vail Brewing Company. I knew it was something over there on Eagle Vale side.
Yep.
And then I started coming to the shows at Bridge Street Bar.
Yep.
I would say probably like 2 years ago, give or take.
Okay.
And then I was at the Comedy Festival last year, the first Comedy Festival.
Oh, that's great. We can talk about that. Terrific.
Absolutely, yeah. And then I'm trying to think of where else. So I've been to a show at Chasing Rabbits.
Okay.
And I've been to a show. I haven't been to Moe's down in Eagle. It's a little further.
So fun. We got a show tonight. Not that anybody's going to see this and get there for it, but Jeffrey Asmus from New York City. It's going to be a banger.
Awesome. What time is that at?
Shows at doors at 7. I don't know. We'll find out. Vail Comedy Show.Com has the exact timing.
So yeah, so
I'm currently like 150 miles from the show, so I should probably figure that out. So
yeah, what time you need to leave Denver is probably a good equation to solve. But yeah, I really heard about it through Seth, and then started coming to those Bridge Street shows. And now have been to a lot more.
Okay, so you've been to a bunch of shows, but the festival is a little bit of a different animal than the shows. So basically what you're saying is you heard about it from a fan of the show. That's how you ended up at a bunch of Vail comedy shows. At the comedy shows, you heard about the festival, and you've attended 2 in a row, 2022 and 2023.
Yep. Sorry, to be more clear, now I understand. I definitely found out about the festival from going to the monthly shows up here in Vail.
Okay, awesome, cool, great place to learn about it. And so that's interesting. You're part of an elite crew that has been to every Vail Comedy Festival.
I know.
I'm in that crew as well. I've been to everyone. 2 years
going
in
on
a
my
row.
resume. I'm gonna add it to my resume.
So let's start with that right away. Like, what did anything feel different this year, or was it the same, or I don't know?
Well, I had schedule wise, I was able to be at a lot more of the shows at the first comedy festival than I was at this year's.
Okay.
So I think I made it to about 5 or 6 comedy shows at the festival this year.
Okay.
And, gosh, how was it? I don't even know how to say if it was like different, because it was, I think it was all different comedians this year. I can't remember any, no repeats.
Yeah.
And then, I'm trying to think of like what else. I mean, we used it was a lot of like the same venues that we went to.
Yep. Some new.
Yeah. I think Sarah's Lounge, you mentioned that picture of me laughing at Sarah's. And I think that's my favorite venue of all the spots that I've been to, but I haven't been to all of them either.
Right. That was a real, the comedians loved it too. It was a real special place.
Yeah.
That Saturday night show in particular, the one from that photograph is just, it was electric. It was,
and
great.
that was Carmen Lagala.
Carmen Lagala headlined that show. Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yeah. That was a great show. Was that your favorite of the whole festival, if you had to choose one?
I think that was probably my favorite of this year's festival.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So did you go to more events last year in 2022?
In 2022 at the festival, I went to Aviator Nation. I didn't make it to any late night shows this year.
Okay.
At Aviator.
Okay.
I went to Cucina.
Just real quick, when you went to them in 2022, what was your thought on the shows at Aviator Nation?
Well, that space is a little bit of a weird shape and layout.
Uh-huh.
That has nothing to do with why I didn't come this year, but that was my perception of that space.
Okay.
And I think it's great that we're partnering with local businesses for attending these shows. But none of them are like specifically designed for a comedy show. We're like, adapting to the space.
We're popping up shows in these different spaces.
Yeah. So Aviator was like, is that the one that's standing room?
It was last year. This year we brought chairs.
Okay.
With 50 folding chairs. But last year was standing room only.
Yeah, I probably would have enjoyed that more this year. I wasn't able to be out that late this past show.
Yeah.
And then Cucina is great. I really like the shows at Cucina.
Which they remodeled. So same venue, but different room basically, because they remodeled in the last year.
I think that's all the venues I went to.
Okay, Cucina and Sarah's.
And Frost.
Frost. That was a new one for us. What do you think of Frost?
I thought Frost was a pretty good venue, and it's also nice that I could get like appetizers and snacks there.
Yeah. Service was great.
We were like running around all day, and so it was just nice to have a place where I could eat while I was at the shows instead of having to make that another stop along the way.
Right. Yeah. That was a real surprise for us. We'd never done a show there before the Friday of the festival.
Yeah.
What a pleasant surprise. It was a great room, very wide. The acoustics were great. The lighting worked out terrific.
I either went to 2 or 3 shows at Frost this year, and I definitely enjoyed those.
Yeah, it's cool. A little bit of it's like a 5-minute walk, maybe 7-minute instead of like 1-minute walk. But nice to stretch the legs and walk around Vail. Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Any other comedians stand out last year or this year to you?
Yeah, definitely. So Leah Bonema is the one I met the first night at Vail Brewing Company.
So you went to let's talk about that a little bit. So that was the free show the night before the festival. And locals really need to latch on to this because that show was wild.
We had a great time.
2 festival headliners dropped in unexpectedly. We had the surprise headliner, Derek Stroop, so funny. Yeah. And then a whole bunch of festival comics were on the show as well. It's free. I don't know where it will be next year, but the last 2 years it's been at Vail Brewing Company in Solaris. Good room, fun, great staff. Beer's great. And it's free. Like, come on. You gotta...
Yeah, so I came to that one with a few friends. That was, I guess, Thursday night, and that's where I met Leah, and I'm trying to remember who the other...
Dustin Chafin?
Yeah, Dustin was there. So that was it's hard to remember which show was which. Yeah. But I met Leah and Dustin, and they were both hilarious at that show. And then Leah and I are actually talking about some collaborative content that we're hoping to do here, like working together on some content.
Cool.
And and then I mentioned Carmen Legala. She was very funny at at Sarah's. And I think I also caught her in some of those shows at Frost. I don't know if those were the Fiverr or...
Yeah. So one of the neat things is we sprinkled in the headliners. They did surprise spots in almost every show. There was at least 2 headliners who just would unexpectedly be in the middle of the lineup. They weren't on the website or anything. They pop in, do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 7 minutes. So that was nice, and do different material every time as well.
So I might not say the name right, but one of my favorite of the whole weekend is it Devontre
Coleman? Oh, what a sleeper hit he was out of San Francisco Bay Area. So funny. Here's some hot goss for you. He's going to be back August 9th. This could be the reason for you to go to the Eagle show. Nathan McIntosh is the headliner that night. He's been on the Tonight Show, Conan. August 9th, he'll be in Eagle Vale at Moe's Original Barbecue, and Devontre Coleman will be one of the comedians on that lineup.
Okay, so I need to look at my calendar. You said August 9th.
August 9th, yep.
Yeah, I think Devontre was one of my favorites from the whole
So festival. Funny. So, like, dry, very low energy.
Oh yeah.
But hilarious. So funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, by the way, he has an episode of Live from Vail Comedy Festival 2023. So go look that up on YouTube or wherever you're watching or listening to this.
I feel like I saw him like maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the weekend at Cucina, and then like maybe at Frost.
Yeah.
So that was.
Did you run into comedians outside of shows, like wandering around the village or having lunch or dinner? I guess you weren't there very much. Maybe
I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, exactly. In 2022, I was around much more, and I tried to like come out for drinks afterwards with the comedians. this year I was so busy at the studio that I was just like popping into the Village for a show or two back to back, and then coming right back to work.
Right on.
So I didn't really get to catch up with them out and about. But like I said, I caught up with Dustin Chafin and Leah Bonema at that DVC show.
Yep.
And it's it's cool to have such a opportunity to chat one-on-one with these people instead of being in like some kind of a big theater, or I mean, we were just standing outside and happened to catch them. So yeah, that's one of the really cool parts about doing the shows around the Village.
Yeah, it's a super cozy, intimate experience, and there's plenty of opportunities to rub shoulders with the comedians who are flying in from New York, LA, Bay Area, all over the place. Okay, when this is more a general question. You got a favorite place to eat or drink in the Vail area, maybe that you went to over one of these 2 weekends, or
in the Village specifically, or in the Vail?
Yeah, in the Village.
So
for future festival. So basically, like if a future pass holder is watching this, is like, I wonder where I should go eat. Like, what, Ben, you tell them where to go eat.
Well, I'm trying to think about like what's open that early in the season.
That is tricky.
And that's one of the factors.
Because like last year, Vendetta's great pizza place. We had comedy shows there in 2022. Wasn't open in 2023. My guess is they'll be open in 2024. But you're right. But just, ignoring whether a place might be closed.
Yeah. So basically, I think my favorite place to eat over in Vail is the Indian and Nepalese restaurant, Annapurna. And it's in the Evergreen Lodge.
Yeah.
And it's, which is just like right there on the frontage road, like in the main Vail exit. And I find myself just going back there time and time again for really good, really nice tasting and good portions, and not too expensive, and definitely authentic Nepalese and I guess Himalayan.
That's a great tip. That's I'd say that's off the beaten path, which is on brand for a Himalayan restaurant. I feel
right.
Like.
Yeah.
And that's a good one. If you're in the Village and you're watching this and you're wondering how do I get to the Evergreen? It's a little bit past the Frost venue. You can take a free in-town bus over to the hospital and kind of sneak up the hill there into the hotel. And it's pretty easy. It doesn't take very long at all to get from the Covered Bridge over to Evergreen Hotel. And yeah, that's a good suggestion. I like that.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to maybe like avoid the hectic, crowded Village, which sometimes can be a little bit much to like get food. It's right there, it's close, and it's a little bit bigger of a spot that, it's not usually a place I find myself waiting for a table.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Great. You heard it from Ben Belgrad, everybody. Incredible tip. What are some of your favorite moments from this year's festival?
Let me think. That's kind of putting me on the spot here. That was it was a couple weeks ago, but I mean, Devontre probably had me laughing the hardest.
Okay.
And there was now, so this might, let me think here. At the Frost shows, I'm trying to remember. Okay, so there was a comedian from Nashville.
Oh, Brad Sativa. Yep.
Brad Sativa. And I'm thinking of the Cucina shows, not the Frost shows. But he definitely, I think it was like a more low-key show. It was like 2 PM. There wasn't a ton of people there. And he just had me cracking up. Kind of like, in that, I don't know how to describe that room, but it's like, it's a cool room.
Right. Yeah, Brad's super funny. He's hilarious.
Brad stood out at that one. And yeah, like I said, the show at Sarah's at Christiania, I couldn't say what about it, but it was a packed room. There was that bachelorette party that was kind of just, a certain vibe, and they like just stumbled in or like found out about it last.
No, that's funny. That's a funny story. I can tell that story. I think. They contacted me. They were some of the first pass purchasers of the entire festival. They contacted me months before the festival and basically said, we want to go to one show. How do we get tickets to one show? And I said, I'm sorry, I can't sell you tickets to one show. You got to buy a pass. and we went back and forth over like 6 weeks negotiating. And I finally gave them a bulk discount on a dozen passes. I gave them like a free pass for the bride.
Yeah.
And then they bought their pass, and we gave them special passes. They had a little like a martini glass with a engagement ring inside the martini glass on their passes.
Cool.
And they came to that show, and they had great energy. It was so funny that night. I've talked to some comedians about that. So there were about a dozen of them, and they were a great, like, traditionally bachelorette parties are nightmares at comedy shows, and they couldn't have been better comedy fans. They were drinking, having fun. They were quiet, respectful, but laughing, and just having a great time.
And that room's cool because they had like the girls had the chairs along the wall.
The banquette. We gave them a whole like special area just for them.
And then there was kind of like that couch area, which had a good group of guys kind of like going back and forth with the comedians. And so I just think like the energy of that place, it's not just the venue. It happens to be the comedians that were there that night, the bachelorette party, that all kind of came together for probably my favorite show of the festival.
That was outstanding. So later that night, that was like 7:30 to 9 o'clock was that show.
Yeah,
there's like 20 plus shows during the festival for people who are interested in buying passes. It's every Memorial Day weekend, by the way. VailComedyFestival.Ben. Passes go on sale every January 1st. So that bachelorette party, there's like a dozen of them at this show. We get out 9 o'clock. We're wandering around the village, maybe 11 p.m. There's like 7 of them. They're definitely more inebriated. We're wandering around the village like 1:30 a.m. There's like 5 of them. They're just hammered, having a great time. The ones that are left, and we kept passing like ships in the night. It was it was pretty fun. And it's a neat thing about the festival. Like all the venues are on top of each other, and you kind of get to know some of the audience people, and comics get to know the audience people as well, because it's the same people over and over again. And it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
What would you put on your thinking hat? Any suggestions for next year's festival or future festivals? Anything you'd like to see?
So correct me if I'm wrong. I think you do the magician outside.
Yeah, for the kids, the family friendly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is really hard with planning with the weather. I know this because I live here and it snowed 2 weeks ago on June 1st. But, an outdoor show for one of the comedy shows, if there's some kind of outdoor venue or space we can use, that would be awesome.
Okay.
But it could be terrible.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a good idea. It would be great for marketing. Are you thinking like there's a lot of outdoor music in Vail? Are you thinking like one of those temporary stages like popped up and?
Yeah, something like that, or one of the patios at somewhere like in Lions Head, the Chop House patio, or the
gotcha.
across the tavern on the square. Like there's like something like that, or we just had GoPro games here this weekend, and they have like stages set up and kind of infrastructure.
Checkpoint Charlie, or
and I'm not, I don't. It doesn't, to me. It doesn't really matter where outside. It just, if the weather is cooperating, it would be great to have a comedy show outside and hang out in the village in Memorial Day weekend. And of course, if it's pouring rain,
that is tricky. We definitely need a plan B. Mm-hmm. And there's just some other like factors. Like it's hard. Like one of the reasons that Sarah's Lounge show was so good is it has low ceilings, and the acoustics just kept all the laughter in, and everybody was jam packed. Outdoor is like the opposite. The laughs just escape into the atmosphere. People are spread out.
Right.
But it's something that's definitely been discussed. The town of Vail is definitely open to it. We'd have to apply for a permit. There's like all kinds of expenses and logistical challenges, but that's not necessarily a barrier. We're happy to do that work.
So another thing that would be fun is if you incorporated some kind of a happy hour with the comedians.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I could show up as a pass holder half an hour before the Fiverr and get drinks and chat with the community.
Yeah, well, here you go. For 2024, we did this in 22 and 23. There is a secret like welcome party for VIP pass holders, and they get to hang out and drink. And this year we had Moe's Original Barbecue. It was catered.
Awesome.
So it was super fun. That's a good thing. So look into anybody who's listening, invest in those VIP passes. You get access to. We did a special yoga thing this year as well, where you got to do yoga with comedians.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a great idea, Ben.
And I know I saw from social media that a lot of the comedians kind of like went out on small hikes or like some in the mornings maybe. Yep. So if there's a way to incorporate the pass holders and the attendees joining on that kind of a thing,
right?
I don't think everybody's going to want to do that, but some people would love to do that and would love to even show, you know, the comedians coming from out of town, like some local spots maybe, or like places to go for hikes or whatever.
Yeah, I think the best way to do that organically for now is you can, if you're at lunch and a table of comedians is next to you, buy them their lunch or buy them around.
Yeah.
And just start talking to them and say, hey, you want to go for a hike tomorrow? I mean, some people look at you like your head's on backwards.
We got to get them signs. We got to get all the comedians with signs that say like, I'm funny, you know, like I'm a comedian for the show.
Well, buy me lunch. I don't think that's necessary, because if you're going to 15 shows, you know who the comedians are. And like Brad Sativa does not look like a typical Vail person. Like if you see him on stage once and he makes you laugh, Devontre, same thing. Leah, if you see these people, they're memorable. You're gonna know who they are, and their badges. They have badges that say artist on them. So So cool. All right. Well, we gotta wrap this up. Ben, you're the best for doing this. Thanks for being a pass holder 2 years in a row. We really hope we've earned your business for a third year. Everybody who's listening, VailComedyFestival.com. If you're a comedian, you can apply starting November 1st for the next year's festival. If you want to buy a pass, they're at their cheapest prices January 1st every year, and prices go up over time. Come on out, check us out. Ben, any last thoughts about the festival?
Well, thank you so much for doing what you do. It's such an awesome thing to have up here in the Valley, and I look forward to more shows and festivals.
Awesome. All right. Well, tell your friends. We're going to end this. Tune in next time to Live from Vail Comedy Festival, everybody.